Hello everybody, this is Kristan Weisdack, special needs mom and holistic behavior intervention expert. And today we have put together an amazing video just for you. Today we're going to be talking about tips for a happier Halloween. So I'm going to be sharing with you some tips about trick-or-treating and how to make that easier for your young child that might have autism or special needs or sensory processing disorder. And then Mandy, our resident gluten-free OT, is going to be sharing her tips about gluten-free candy. Tip 1 is to have a backup plan. That could be doing a treasure hunt at home. It could be a sensory bin, a coloring activity. They could help you with kitchen prep and things around the house. So make sure you have a backup plan. Another good idea is to maybe have one of their best friends, a peer that they really respond well to, or somebody in the family that they respond to that can model the behavior that you want them to do. Tip 2 is consider your child's preferences. So this could range from anything from picking out a costume. I'll show you some good examples here. Preston has his Incredibles costume that he could wear. But thinking about not just the costume itself, like you could have the Incredibles, you can have, this is Spider-Man of course, or Batman. Some kids aren't going to like to wear full outfits. They just want a shirt or maybe just some props. We also have our hog hands, or Preston will do mix and smash where he combines them. So it's not necessarily thinking about having a full costume for your child. What are their preferences? And making sure that one of my kids' preferences was that all the tags were cut out. So that's like more of a preference and a sensory issue combined. If there was anything that was scratchy or itchy or the tags, we had to make sure that all those were out. So that's one of our other tips. Another really important part of considering your child's preferences are fidget toys. Does your child need a fidget toy to calm down where they're walking around? Was it a squishy ball? Is it a fidget toy? Something that's really going to help them calm. Tip number 3 is consider if your child is a seeker or avoider. Now this comes to sensory processing disorders. So consider that your child likes to seek sensory input, that they're always climbing and running and jumping. One really great tip, if they'll allow it, now you don't have to have a weighted backpack, but you can make one really easily. So you can just take your regular backpack and put things like books in them. It's really super simple. You can put books in here, you can put soft weights, anything that child prefers. But you can also, like we talked about in tip 2, your child's preferences. One of Preston's preferences was his blanket. So not only can this be a weighted backpack, but this can be kind of like your go-to if things start to get a little bit hectic and you see that your kiddo is getting a little disorganized, that you can pull out some of these things and use them during trick-or-treating. Another part of tip 3 about your seeker or avoider is to have them try the costume on before trick-or-treat. You want to make sure that they're comfortable with the material and then they're not going to be ripping and tugging at anything. Now, if you have a child that avoids sensory input altogether, something that you can do is just take a t-shirt, like I have here, just an old t-shirt that you don't use anymore, and you can cut it up and very easily turn it into a cape. So some of these are really no cost at all, and you can take your sewing kit and you can get some of these little Velcro dots from Staples, and just get this off here for you. Take these and you can very easily get that needle through there and sew it. Sew the cloth, the fabric, the t-shirt, whatever that might be. If you go and buy a piece of material from Walmart and just attach it to their shirt. That way you don't have to worry about any scratching or itching or tags or anything. They're comfortable in whatever they're wearing, but they have that cape accessory. Another thing you can do is drape the cape over the backpack. Our fourth tip is trying to practice walking the area ahead of time, whether it's going to be a trunk or treat or if you're going to trick or treat around your neighborhood. Try to walk around that area and get the child familiar with it if they're not already familiar with it. Making sure that they understand where they're going to go. Try to follow that same route the night of Halloween, because a lot of the kids that I work with really love routines and doing things the same way. And if you disrupt that, that can cause behavioral issues. So we want to try to make this a happy Halloween. You can also create a social story for your little one that shows what you're going to do. And it can be a picture of a house and then the words trick or treat over and over again, or just something telling them what the expectations are. Or you can talk to them about it, saying costume on, house, trick or treat, then candy. You want to be able to explain it in terms that your learner can understand and just making it easy for them. My fifth and final tip for you is knowing your child's limits. So as a behaviorist, we talk about baseline. What are the expectations and what are the things that my kiddo can do right now? So if I know that on a normal walk, my kiddo can go outside and last for 20 to 25 minutes, that would be our expectation, that they're able to go out and last that long. Now you have to consider that there's going to be other kids going around the neighborhood and it's going to be getting darker. So what you can do to get around that is you can start early or you can start late, depending on how busy the neighborhood is. So we hope that you love this video. Comment below if you want to see more things like this. And now we're going to turn it over to Mandy for those gluten-free candy tips. Take it away, Mandy.
Hello, it's Mandy, your gluten-free OT. So glad that you're with us, and I hope you enjoyed those tips and tricks from Kristan. Just love not only her clinical expertise and experience, but also the realities of her life as a mom. She's one of us walking this gluten-free life with her kids, trying to figure out sensory processing and strategies as we go. And so it's just great to have a tribe and be able to do this all together. Today I'm going to share with you a couple things that I've learned. The past 4 Halloweens, we've navigated gluten-free. My 2 daughters and I have celiac disease, so I found some candies that are safe for us to eat and some options when candy isn't the best way to go for us. First of all, we're going to start off in a couple stores that are local to me, just showing you what I look for, whether I am purchasing candy for my kids, classroom friends, or even just our neighborhood trick-or-treaters. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at what we find at Sam's Club. This is such a great stop when you need to get lots of goodies, whether it's for a classroom party or you have lots of trick-or-treaters. One thing that I really liked here were the non-candy options. You still need to check those labels. The cheese balls and popcorn I found were great snacks, well labeled gluten-free. The candy bag did have more than one type of candy. So again, when you read your labels, check and make sure that each candy included is considered gluten-free. And if they're not, you just need to separate those out so you just know what you're dealing with. You can see in Dollar General there are certainly lots of choices. I wanted to point out this first bag that has 4 different candies in it, and 2 of them are clearly labeled gluten-free, the Skittles and Starburst, while the Twix definitely has a wheat as an ingredient that it contains. You'll notice on the Snickers it's neither labeled gluten-free nor does it list wheat as an ingredient. So that's where you just have to take into consideration your level of sensitivity and whether you want to give that food a try or not. A couple others that I pointed out here and made note of were the Whoppers and the Twizzlers. While both of those would appear to be gluten-free, like it doesn't appear that there's any kind of cracker or wheat-containing ingredient, especially the Twizzlers, you'll look when you turn them over, they both do include wheat. So those are no-goes when you're on a gluten-free diet. As we begin our shopping for gluten-free items, one really important thing to know is that by law, wheat is considered an allergen, and anything that is an allergen has to be listed in bold on the ingredients on the back of any kind of packaging. So you'll notice a lot of these may or may not say gluten-free on the front, but if you turn it over, if it doesn't say gluten-free and you turn the package over, you can see whether or not it says wheat. Some common listed allergens are wheat, milk, eggs, soy, nuts. So as you begin to read packages, those are just some of the things that you'll see listed in that bold print. You can see through just a quick little one aisle walk in the Dollar General store, the choices can be overwhelming. And so sometimes it just feels like too much to even deal with candy. And that's where some of the non-candy options can come in really helpful, whether it's little pencils, erasers, the glow sticks they can wear around their wrists when they're trick-or-treating, quarters, whatever. The non-candy thing is always a safe way to go when you're not sure about allergies or food sensitivities. The Dollar Tree and Walmart are some great places I found, especially for the non-food Halloween option. I love these little cups, whether you buy the individual ones, if you have, maybe just a small class or a couple kids you're looking for a non-gluten-free treat for, or the 4-pack and maybe put in a little pack of stickers or a pencil or something. Well, hopefully those little store trips were helpful for you, just looking at reading labels, looking for those bold print wheat allergens, and some really simple ideas of non-candy options. If I leave you with one last tip, it's going to be this, an invaluable resource, and for us it is celiac.org. So whether you've actually been diagnosed with celiac disease or you have a gluten sensitivity, that is such a great resource, from outlining symptoms to a checklist of whether it's worth it for you to get tested. But what I wanted to share with you today is a resource on celiac.org, a Halloween candy list. They list some common candies that are gluten-free. We're going to include a link to that in the description of this video, so be sure to check that out. It's super helpful. And the last thing too is look around in your local areas. I know local to us, some dentists offer a candy trade-in. So you can go trade in your candy and maybe you receive money or some of the other non-food Halloween treats that we talked about. So that's another good option, because I know it's tough when your littles come home with that bag full of candy and then there's this huge pile that they can't eat. So hopefully this will help you and your families as you navigate this season. Be sure to stay tuned. More gluten-free things coming up with your gluten-free OT with Kristan, and as we move into the holidays, look forward to that content too. So happy Halloween.